Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to this new video, which is again a freebie. This video is about cargo or utility details or elements which you can add everywhere you'd like to. I've sewn them on an old pair of trousers here, but they can also be added to skirts, dresses or jackets or anything else. So the three elements are here, these big pockets, which I've put on each side. Then I have a smaller pocket with darts, each one with flaps. And here I've added some kind of decorative zipper element here and this strap here. Okay, so let's be honest, perhaps I should say these are 4 elements. And here, in my case, I've added also here backside pockets because I had only flaps here. But these pocket patterns are not included in the free pattern because these are very specific to my trousers here. So go through your wardrobe if an old piece needs a refreshment, or you will find something suitable at a thrift shop. As you perhaps know, the Y2K and cargo trend is back again, so this DIY project makes totally sense for the upcoming season and even next year. Of course, you are free to choose in between the elements which one to sew and which one to leave out, or how you would like to make the stitchings to match your style. In this video I just show you how I made these. Another thing that should be taken care of is the size of these elements. Of course, I worked with a very small size, so if you are working with a very larger size, it could make sense to make these elements a little bit larger. In this case, I would recommend to print out the paper pattern, cut it and pin it to your garment, and then check in front of a mirror if the dimensions of the elements and the position is good. As I've already mentioned, this is a freebie, so the free pattern is available as always on my homepage Koba.Siani.com in the freebie section. So get your free pattern download and let's start. Have fun!
So here I'm beginning and I'm cutting all the pieces for the big pocket. As you could see in the beginning of this video, my design is to incorporate different shades of beige into my new pair of trousers. So I'm cutting all pieces in different fabrics, which I found in my fabric stash. For the main part of the big pocket, which I'm cutting here, I'm upcycling the cut lower part of another pair of trousers, which I've kept. The part with the inner leg seam with the stitchings I'm using here for my new pocket. To give the big pocket its 3D shape, we have this long pattern piece, the side part of the big pocket, which I'm cutting here directly out of the fabric, but in the pattern download you'll find a paper pattern for it. Then I'm cutting the flaps in another fabric. For each big pocket you will need 2 pieces of the flaps and each 1 piece of the side part and the main part of the big pocket. For each flap you will also additionally need the flap in a soft interlining to make it a little bit stiffer. Then I'm continuing with a small pocket. Again, for each small pocket you want to make, you will need the main part once and the flap twice, plus 1 time the flap in a soft interlining. Then follows the zipper element. Here we need facing and main part once, plus the facing in an interlining and a stripe of interlining which we can glue later onto the zipper position on the main part. At last I'm cutting the loop. I thought here I would need that twice, just for design reasons, but that wasn't true and once would have been enough. As a next step, I'm ironing on the interlining, at first here to the flaps. Please always double check if the gluing side of the interlining is pointing to the wrong fabric side, otherwise you will have a bad accident, which is quite common. Then follows the interlining for the facing of the zipper. I'm also ironing on a strap of interlining to the main part of the zipper element in the area where the zipper will be later. This area is also marked on the pattern. Here I'm preparing now all the flap pieces. I'm folding and ironing all the upper edges of the flap pieces 1 centimeter to the wrong fabric side. Afterwards, I'm pinning each 2 pieces of flaps together with their right fabric sides to the inside, and for each pair 1 flap with interlining and 1 without. The side with the interlining will later be the outside of the flap. Then I'm preparing the zipper element. At first, I'm putting both pattern pieces with the right fabric sides together on top of each other. As you can see, at one long side the edges align, and then I'm drawing on the zipper. Here I'm starting with the line for the zipper center, and then I'm continuing by marking the zipper length, and afterwards I'm drawing with 5 mm distance from the center line another 2 parallel lines at the right and the left of the center line. The result is a rectangle with the length of the zipper and the width of 1 centimeter. At the small pockets, I'm drawing on the darts ends on the wrong fabric side. So finally we can use our sewing machine. At first I'm sewing the flaps. Here I'm sewing with 1 centimeter distance to the edge along the outlines. That means the upper edge of the flap remains open. Then I'm sewing the zipper opening. I'm stitching now along the lines of the rectangle. The zipper center line will not be stitched here. That line is for the cut later. Then I'm sewing the darts in the small pockets. And at last I'm sewing the tunnel for the loop. I'm folding the pattern piece lengthwise into the half and stitching with 1 centimeter seam allowance along the open edge. The right fabric side is to the inside here. And I'm already back at my iron. At first I'm trimming down the seam allowances of the flaps to 5 mm only, and at the corners I'm cutting it down to 2 mm. Afterwards I can turn around all flaps to the right fabric side. Then I'm continuing with the zipper opening. At first I'm cutting along the zipper center line, and then at the small sides of the rectangle I'm cutting in a V shape into the corners of the stitched rectangle. Afterwards I can turn around the facing to the other side of the main part. So like this, its right fabric side is visible. Here is the space for the zipper later. Then, similar to the flaps, I'm cutting at the loop part, also the seam allowance down to 5 mm, and I'm turning it around to the right fabric side with a safety pin. The next step is how this chapter is called. We are ironing everything. If you're taking it seriously, you can iron now the seam lines to the back sides of the flaps. At the loop, I'm ironing the seam line more or less to the center of the back side of the loop. Then comes the zipper element. Here I'm ironing apart at first the seam allowances with the help of a wooden spoon. Then I'm ironing everything flat. Now I can pin the zipper underneath this opening here. As I'm following my shades of brown and beige design idea, I'm putting now the facing upwards so that it's visible to have this two-tone effect. But if you want to have a zipper element with only one color, you can use it the other way around, with the facing into the inside and the main part upwards visible. I'm also folding and ironing this edge here of the facing 1 cm to the inside to the wrong fabric side. Again, this step is only necessary with my option here with the outside facing. Now I'm quickly casting some edges. These are the lower edge and the sides of all pockets and the long edges of the side parts of the big pocket. And here is the result. Now it's time to sew the pocket sides to the main parts of the pocket. These two pieces I'm not pinning, but just moving and matching under the sewing machine. I'm sewing with 1 cm seam allowance, as always, and I'm sewing the first side downwards to the first corner of the pocket. Here I'm folding the side pattern piece somehow around the corner, and then I can continue with my seam. How I made this here was quite freestyle and led to a problem, which you will see soon. So now on the actual paper pattern, I've added notches that will help you to distribute the length of the side part better. Here on this sketch, the pocket is in white and the side piece is in blue. You can see that the notches define the corners of the seam line and not the edges of the fabric. Look here, somehow I stretched out the main part of the pocket and the side part is now too short. But with the notches, this shouldn't be a problem. Back at the iron, I'm ironing now apart the seam allowances here at the main pocket, between the side part and the main part. And then I'm folding and ironing the side part to the inside of the pocket. Additionally, I'm preparing the upper edges of the big and the small pockets. I'm folding and ironing the upper edge twice for 1 cm towards the wrong fabric side and securing this with pins. This is also what I'm stitching here. I'm finishing the upper edges of all the pockets. As soon as also the big pocket is done, I'm folding now the side part of the big pocket to the inside and stitching along the outline of the big pockets. Just tightly along the edge, as you can see. Then follows the decorative stitching along the edges of the flaps. Here you are totally free to choose if you stitch once or twice and in which distance from the edge. I chose a single stitching along the edge of the small flap with a distance of 5 mm from the edge and a double stitching along the edge of the bigger flap. Then I'm adding stitchings on the loop. I've chosen to make 3 lines of stitching. For the next step, I need the one-sided zipper sewing foot, because now I'm sewing in the zipper, just all around the edges of the fabric. Then I'm changing back to the normal sewing foot and I'm stitching along the edges of the facing. I'm doing 2 stitchings. Here I'm preparing all the elements to be attached on the trousers. I'm folding and ironing all the open edges 1 cm towards the wrong fabric side. I'm starting with a big pocket here. Then I'm continuing with a small pocket. And here I'm making the edges of the zipper element. Then I'm attaching all elements with pins on my trousers. I'm taking care that I'm working symmetrically, and the exact positions I'll check later in front of the mirror. The flaps I'm not pinning yet to the trousers. This will be my very last step. As for the loop, I'm attaching one side under the pocket, and afterwards I'm ripping off the side seam a little bit and putting it into the side seam. But you could also attach the other side also under the pocket somehow. When everything is pinned on, a quick check in front of the mirror is following. Now I'm just stitching on all the pockets and elements, just tightly along the edges. After the big pocket here, all others are following. At the big pockets, we have to place some bar tacks here on the top. Additionally, this I'm making here. I'm just stitching forth and back a few times to secure the top of the pocket. Like this, I'm also defining the pleat of the side of the pocket. Then at last I'm adding the flaps on the pockets. I'm just stitching along the upper edge, tightly along the edges. And of course with some millimeters distance to the top edge of the pocket.
Ready! I hope you've enjoyed the video and that everything went well, of course. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me via email, for example, to info@Koba.Siani.com, or you leave me a comment here on YouTube, or you can contact me on social media. And of course, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. This means really a lot to me. For more creative content, you can also follow me on social media. I'm mainly on Instagram and Facebook. I hope you will be back to my channel very soon to my next video. Take care until then. Bye!